It's incredible to have this group here. You know, we created this show because, as I said earlier, we wanted to bring individuals together who typically wouldn't have the opportunity to sit down with one another because life gets busy. And I feel like this is a really good group to do that. We'll talk about everything, right? See where the conversation goes, but it will be excellent. Rodney, you got two P&G guys here. If they try to team up on you, I got your back. I got your back. Just send me a signal or something. They look in shape, so just send me a signal and we'll keep it going. The show opens like this, however. We do this thing called One's Gotta Go, right? I'm gonna say two names, and this is a tough one because I know I've done a little research on all of you, and I know you guys are movie lovers, right? So this is a tough one. It's probably one of the toughest ones. I'm not gonna answer it intentionally, but I don't have to because I'm asking it. If you think about the two individuals, I'm gonna say the names, their entire body of work has to go. Their movies don't exist, their production, their director, none of that exists. Everything has to go and you can only keep one. So, the two names are Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Very challenging. I know you're gonna struggle with this because I know you like Meet the Fockers, right?
Oh, that's the movie that you're not gonna let go. Oh, okay, yeah.
Not the most artsy movie.
Right. So, jump in.
So just to be clear here,
Yeah.
we're choosing one of the two. Okay,
The one that
gotcha.
you choose is the one that stays. And the one that you don't choose is the one that you say, you know what, if I had to choose over these two bodies of work, that one has to go. So you got Scarface, Casino.
A lot of the movies
Godfather.
they were in together.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But
Like Heat.
A lot
Heat
they were-
is, I mean, obviously, The Godfather.
None of their acting careers compete with your acting career.
Well,
And
sure,
we're going to talk
certainly,
about that.
certainly.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. No yellow duck puppets.
Don't worry, we'll get to it.
De Niro's come close in his more recent movies.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
Love, you want to go? Ladies first?
I'm gonna say, if I had to pick, I'm gonna go with Robert De Niro.
Has to go.
Has to stay.
Has to stay. And why?
Yeah. I just think I like his work. I think he's a good actor.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You gonna keep it safe?
I think Robert De Niro.
Has to stay.
Yeah, has to stay.
Okay.
Has to stay. Al can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for the interest of diversity, I'll keep Pacino. The more recent De Niro acting decisions have been a little suspect, if I can speak ill of a legend. The one where he was boxing with Stallone, do you remember that?
Not okay.
Or Bad Grandpa with Zac Efron. I probably am embarrassing myself by knowing his more recent IMDb, but I think
like Bad Grandpa
that's
was a
tough.
pretty good movie.
You're into that?
Yeah,
Well, we
I'm
know
into
you're a
it.
Meet the Fockers guy, so that is consistent with that oeuvre.
Yeah, be careful.
But so Pacino stays.
Pacino stays.
Yeah, it's a hard one not to get rid of.
I can respect
Rodney.
De
Niro. I mean, the variety of his work
Yeah.
is just amazing.
So De Niro stays.
Stays.
Okay.
And he's funny.
Right.
And and my objective when I go see a movie is I want to feel better at the end of the movie than the beginning of the movie. That's my only objective.
That's true.
And for me, that's it.
Pacino's funny, but unintentionally so.
Yeah,
Like screaming at people.
yeah. I mean, he's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
But he doesn't make me. It's way too serious for me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But
I
it's
think
a tough
Sense of a
choice.
Woman is hilarious, but yeah.
Okay.
Two incredible bodies of work. I mean, the reality is that we enjoy them both. But if I had to choose, and I said I wouldn't, Pacino stays. It's just some of the films that he were a part of, I just can't let go of.
It's Scarface.
I don't know why I was
You're a
watching Scarface
guy.
when I was 11, but I was, and here we are. So,
Wait,
but, you know,
let's revisit that. You were 11
well, you
when you
know,
watched
look,
Scarface?
man, you know, Aftab, we don't, you know, you don't have to revisit it. You don't have to, my mom watches this show. My mother watches this show. We don't have to revisit it. Tell us about Blue Car.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
You really have done some Google research.
Yeah, tell us about Blue Car.
So
Blue Car is a movie there.
I am proud that I do have an IMDb page. For a while I was in SAG. So here's the story. I was an English student, in my English class in my high school. My teacher said, oh, they're shooting an independent film nearby and they're looking for extras. Would you guys like to be in a movie? And so, yeah, of course. So we went down to the movie set, assuming we would be extras. It was a small budget film. And so the person who was supposed to play the part that I eventually got was sick and they couldn't delay production. So they had emergency castings of all the extras. And I was the least worst extra as it relates to acting. So I got the part. Boy in class. It was my job to make fun of the main actress in the class. And I had 2 scenes and 7 lines. I got like 75 cents in royalties and residuals for a few years.
Nice.
You know, it's not a great movie, to be honest. It's about a teacher who has an inappropriate relationship with one of his students. So I was like so excited to be in the movie. And then I go with my mom for the opening night in Dayton. And she's like covering my eyes half the time. It's like inappropriate. And like, you know, with your mom, it was, anyway, I'm unpacking too much, but yeah. Thanks for opening that up. I appreciate
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
So did you tell your mom you know more than she realizes you already know?
Right.
That's right. But
Safe to say that now.
But yeah, I still have the IMDb page, and yeah, very proud of my very brief acting career, although some think that that's what set me off into politics. So, because apparently politics is for ugly people who can't act.
Oh my goodness, this is hilarious. All right, changing topics a little bit. Tell us about Sweet Maize. I know a lot, right? I want the world to know a lot. Not that the world watches the show, but they will. But tell us about the company, how you guys came up with the concept. I want to hear the ice cream story first and how it went through. But I think these two would find that fascinating.
Okay, yeah, so Sweet Maize has gone through years of iteration. I was telling Rodney here earlier that, you know, it took a year. So we're now with stuffed cookies. It's a premium stuffed cookie line, but we started with ice cream. It was ice cream for almost, like 2 or 3 years. And, you know, we realized after going through tons of rabbit holes that ice cream just wasn't it. And ultimately, like, I'm a foodie. I love to bake. My family bakes. You know, Sweet Maize dates back to my great-grandmother who baked. Passed that love down to my grandmother, and I grew up in the kitchen with my grandmother. So ultimately, you know, after we kind of went through some ideas, Drew was like, why don't you do what you love? It's baking. You know, I don't really think you're that passionate about ice cream. So I was like, okay. So we eventually got to the stuffed cookie idea. And one thing that's never changed, though, about the line is that it's always been Southern. It was always going to be Southern flavors. It was always going to pay homage to my family and being from the South. So that's how we started with ice cream and got to stuffed cookies.
Now, Drew's back now. I remember when you first met, he was picking up weight at an alarming rate. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Because he's always been a workout buff. Yeah. He was living on the banks. He was like, and the first time I met you, you guys were getting yogurt. I was like, Drew wouldn't eat yogurt, right? He eats, I don't know, real healthy snacks, but whatever. Drew, you got any ads, Sweet Maize? I know you've been incredibly supportive of this since the beginning, and I think that story is awesome about bake.
I would say through the evolution of Sweet Maize, like Tiff has maintained her passion and her, I guess I would say her focus on what she loves. You know, David talked about really around unlocking people's superpower, and I really feel like Tiffany's superpower. Tiffany really, her superpower is her passion for baking and food, right? With Pursuit of Delights as well that she didn't plug, I also plugged that as well. Her and her travel partner, Tiffany, her business partner, Tiffany, you know, they have that page which they promote, you know, food, everything within Cincinnati, even outside of Cincinnati, travel. So it just maintained it true to her. So it's not like she's doing work every day. It's her passion, something that she enjoys. So me just being a supportive husband, I love cookies, I love sweets. So I try to keep it off a little bit as much as I can. I ride the Peloton every now and then and run, but our 2-year-old chasing her around, Robin. So yeah.
Drew, your point about your superpower, I think really does come from what you're passionate about.
Yep.
And to me, you can always tell when somebody's passionate about something.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not work. And when it's not work, you just do that little extra.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And the little extra shows up in, ways that you don't expect.
Right.
Well, you certainly have to be passionate about a small business like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's been a challenging road. It sounds like it's taken a lot of years to conceive of the idea and then launch it.
Yeah, it's definitely been work. It hasn't been easy. We have late hours. There's some nights where I'll go to the kitchen, and we're at Finley Kitchen. So I'll go and I'll make stuff, prep, and then he'll go in, 9, 10 o'clock and stay till 1 or 2 in the morning and bake to help out. I mean, we don't do it often, but we have had our kids there late. So I mean, it's definitely
Labor, right?
yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a labor of love, but I wouldn't trade it. I'm passionate about what I do, and bringing our cookies to the world.
Can he bake? Is this actually a team?
Yeah, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, when he bakes, does he just put it in the oven, or does he do something a little more complicated?
The manual labor is probably where I can say I'm a master at that. But no, she's the guru behind the recipe. So.
No, you do good with baking. I mean, you do have to go with.
She tells me what time I need to put it on. Right. I appreciate it, Lord. Thank you. But no.
Do you enjoy content around baking? I'm a big British Bake Off fan. The reality show. Do you watch baking on TV, or is it like I can't deal with baking anymore?
I used to. Now I used to be hooked to Food Network channel, like all the shows, Cake Wars, Cupcake Wars, all of that. I mean, we watch that nonstop. But I'll be honest, now that the business is taking off, I don't have time to watch that much TV.
Rodney, as small businesses are engaging with Kroger, how big is the passion play about working with passionate entrepreneurs and founders and creatives on their solutions and the things that they want to bring to the Kroger family of companies?
Well, for us, it's incredibly important, and we also have a private equity fund that we are partners on. But for us, it really is about the customer.
Sure.
So what is it the customer wants? And then we test a lot, and the customer, if they keep buying it, then we expand it. And I think about Grader's ice cream. We were able to help Grader's build a new plant by committing to take it to 600 stores in places other than Cincinnati.
Wow.
And they earned the right to keep it in the store because it's an amazing product, and they were able to convince our customers that it's an amazing product because you got to get somebody to eat it. And it's one of those things where it just feeds itself. But it really gets down to the customer and what does the customer love, and then how do you figure out a way to get them to try it? Because one of the things that we found during COVID is people have premiumized their purchases.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's a long-term trend, because once you try something incredibly good, you're not going to go back. And I think about my wife and I when we make macaroni and cheese, mac and cheese. We go to Murray's to get our cheese now. To go back what mac and cheese was out of the Kraft box when I was growing up, not likely. And to me, it's really about, we love food, we love products, and how do you get customers to see it and understand it, fall in love with it.
You talked about growing up, and you grew up in Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
Pikeville?
Well, I was born in Pineville.
Pineville.
Yeah.
And raised where?
If you draw a 100-mile circle around Cincinnati, I've lived most of my life within a 100-mile circle, but my parents moved around a lot.
Okay.
And I graduated from high school in Kentucky, and I graduated from the University of Kentucky.
Now, is this true that you were a part-time clerk?
Yes.
At Kroger?
Yeah, in high school. So it started between high school and college.
And you've always been at Kroger? Never left the company?
Never left the company.
Wow.
Yeah, and I always tell people I went to college on a Kroger scholarship. And people go, I didn't know they had scholarships. Well, we didn't back then. I just worked 32 hours a week to get it.
To pay for school.
Yeah.
University of Kentucky, right?
Yep.
I mean, talk about that a little bit. I do want to dig in there. I mean, from clerk to CEO of one of the largest food companies in the world. I mean, how does that, the valleys and peaks of that had to be tremendous.
Yeah, I'm going to broaden the question just slightly.
Sure, please.
My grandfather couldn't read or write. And I remember when my grandmother died and we had to go record the will and stuff, I was a witness to the X. But my grandfather was always incredibly aggressive about get an education because no one can take it away from you. I mean, it was just like every time I would see him, he said that. So for me, my parents and me personally, you know, getting an education, I just think an education unlocks anything in the world. And, you know, and it opens up the world. So for me, originally working at Kroger was a way for me to get an education. Now, the thing that I fell in love with at Kroger is they give you a ton of responsibilities early, because, you know, I was closing the store on a Saturday night and opening on a Sunday morning when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And Kroger has never, ever judged what I could do by my age. Now, it's easy at this point, but, you know, when you're 24 years old or 23 years old and you have 25 people that report to you, you know, that's a ton of responsibility that you learn a lot.
Yep.
And in 1988, when I was 27 years old, KKR tried to take the company over. And we ended up doing a public leverage buyout. So in essence, we levered up a ton. The board, I got to know the board. I did a lot of the financial modeling, got to know the CEO and CFO. And no one ever said, well, you're 27 years old. How do I trust you?
There's power in that, right?
Yeah. So you fall in love with people. You fall in love with when people give you responsibility and trust you. And the other benefit for us is we have food. And you know, Tiffany's comment about passion about food. I mean, I don't know how you stay that thin, but you know, I'm impressed. But you know, for me, food is, you know, there's nothing like sharing a meal with people you like.
Sure.
And I find even a lot of times when you don't know people and you share a meal, you get to know them and you find out you have a lot more in common than you realize.
Breaking bread.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize that story. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
What would so how old were you when you were a part-time clerk?
17 is when I started.
So what would the 17-year-old Rodney say to the CEO of Kroger? Yeah. Like what would he want the CEO to know?
To me, it's don't always give responsibility to anybody. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I can remember working in a store scheduling extra hours to try to sell fruit baskets.
Right.
Because I thought we could sell them. I mean, and you're held accountable for the hours, and you're accountable for the sales.
Right.
So, you know, what the heck, give it a try. So to me, it's really trusting people, but making sure they understand what's expected as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Expectation.
That's fascinating.
But feedback is always important.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
You know.
Nice.
You're big on feedback. I've learned that about
absolutely.
you. You're really big on feedback, and I appreciate that. Was politics always in the play? I mean, you spent time in corporate. I mean, how did that come about? Right?
No, not really. I mean, so I think my parents, despite their best efforts to ensure I went to med school, were always kind of subliminally pushing me towards public service. So immigrants, my parents are immigrants, and immigrants in this country just have to work incredibly hard. You know, it's so interesting. What your grandfather told you is exactly what my immigrant parents told me. It's all about education because they can't take education away from you. I still don't know who these they people are that's coming to grab things from me. But anyway, so there was just this incredible focus on education and prioritizing my studies. But because my parents worked so hard, quality time with them was few and far between. But every evening, I spent time with my father while he watched the evening news with Peter Jennings on ABC. And so, through that experience, I learned about the importance of news and current events and politics, but it was really just a great time to hang out with my dad and ask him questions. And then my mom's a refugee. She's born in Tibet and had to flee when the communists took over. And so there was always this seriousness about your civic responsibility, about educating yourself about voting. And so despite the fact that they genuinely pushed me towards science and becoming a doctor, politics was always kind of a passion of mine. But I never thought that, quite frankly, a brown guy named Aftab could have a future in politics anywhere, much less Ohio. And President Obama really inspired me that no matter what your name is or what you look like, if you're committed and passionate about public service, you can have an opportunity to serve.
It's incredible. I mean, seriously, we talk all the time, but how does it feel? You are going to be the next mayor of the city I love the most, right? How does that feel?
It's surreal. It's incredibly exciting, invigorating. I've got just so much energy to start and start strong, but it's also intimidating. I mean, being mayor, particularly right now with the pandemic, with police community relations across the country, with the budgetary challenges that we're facing, it's a really, really challenging time. And so it's intimidating. I have a great deal of respect for the responsibility and the opportunity, but I am just incredibly excited to start. And there's just so much optimism about the future in the city, despite the challenges with the new council, with me coming in as a new mayor. I think there's great expectations, but also a lot of energy and support for our agenda.
No, we're excited for you, man. That's a fact. Drew and Tiff, let me ask you guys a question. The food industry, I mean, restaurants took a dive during the pandemic. You guys don't have a restaurant, but what effects did you guys feel on the business, if any, during that time? I always wondered about the packaged good service. I mean, was it logistics?
Yeah.
What was it? I mean,
Yeah, I guess you can kind of say, as we were talking about growing and expanding, Sweet Maize, right? As we wanted to get into retail stores, we were looking for co-packers. And those co-packers are the folks that will eventually make our product for us. And as we were going around the local area, trying to understand who can do this for us, people would say, I really don't have the workers because my people are leaving, or I can't keep people working because either they just don't want to or family reasons, right? So I think that really impacted our growth, which allowed us to then double down and focus on our marketing and making sure that we were improving our product overall. So I feel like the recipe got much better, our efficiency in production got much better. I think all of those things kind of checked it off, and then we had a plan and we were able to focus, okay, where do we want to execute? So, okay, we want to upscale, so let's go to the commercial kitchen. Let's make sure that we can make it in a larger scale, right? Make sure the recipe, everything's there. And then from there it was, okay, can we get into retail stores? So we start reaching out. Myers gave an opportunity for us, other stores as well. So then it was, okay, well, now how do we try to get that co-packers? That's one of the challenges. And actually today, Tiffany just had a conversation with a group so they can support us. So I think we've had that evolution and go through that struggle and those obstacles, but we've learned from it. So
that's the key.
Yeah.
I mean, the pandemic put me in sort of just a creative I was going insane in regards to creating things, and maybe some things were on the shelf already, but I mean, me and my team, we launched 3 or 4 new companies or initiatives during that time period. Right. Did you guys feel that? Did you go into the pandemic what came out of that from we have more flavors now than I learned of last time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna open this.
I'll let Tiff answer that question.
I think for me, the pandemic really gave me discipline. I felt like because it took so long to get here, I think it was, I'd get to a point, then I'd get nervous and find, whatever reason to kind of backtrack. And then Drew was like, what are we waiting on? So I saw a meme, and it was like, during the pandemic, if you don't start your, passion, your business, your side hustle, whatever it is that you want to do, you don't lack time, you lack discipline. And I was like, they're right. And I mean, he'll tell you, I think like within the next week, I was in the kitchen on overdrive, and I developed our first 10 flavors within about a little over a month and 2 weeks. But I mean, it was days, and I would like get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, work all day, you know, tend to the kids, you know, whenever they needed something, go to bed like 10, 11 o'clock, and then do the same thing. And some mornings, like if I was super close to figuring something out but couldn't get it, I'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning like, I figured it out. And he's like, what? And I'd hop up and run downstairs, and I'd be up all, you know, so I mean, it definitely, you know, for me it was discipline, so.
And that all started because of a meme?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Wow, that is like
I think
you got to think about it. It was almost 6 years just about.
positive influence of social media. I finally found one. That's amazing. Because of a meme. That's great.
That's hilarious.
Right.
What's the best selling flavor?
Probably sea salt chocolate chunk. So it's our vanilla brown butter base mixed with chocolate chunk stuffed with Nutella, topped with sea salt.
Wow.
So,
I think you can't go wrong with chocolate chip. I think that's
good.
probably a universal favorite.
Yeah.
It's an entire box of cookies here, so I think
We've been dancing around this subject, but Rico, the fundamental question I have is, can you trust a baker that is skinny? I mean,
We do own a Peloton, to be
yeah, I mean, you must be on the
put in
Peloton
hours.
while you're baking.
Those are the 90-hour, 90-minute rides. That's
They work
several
out,
of
that's
those.
for
Yeah.
sure. That's for sure.
They try to
It's
get
twice a day.
Yeah, just about sometimes.
Aftab, you made a statement this morning, and I've never heard you say it this way, and I appreciated it. And you said one of your primary goals as mayor is to make Cincinnati just a better place for Black people.
Yep.
Literally said it that way. How important is entrepreneurship and developing Black wealth?
Critical.
In that, yeah.
It's critical. Yeah, Rico and I this morning were at a task force I put together to talk about racial equity and economic development, and I really view them as hand in glove in order to grow our city. And what I said was, I'm focused on growing our city and improving the lives of Black people. And in order to do that, we have to create a pipeline of Black wealth and grow the Black middle class. And at the table was former Senator Eric Kearney, who's the executive director of the African American Chamber. And what he said was a vast majority of Black-owned businesses in Cincinnati and our region are 1 or 2 people. So they're not just small businesses, they are micro small businesses. But at the same time, the very backbone of our regional economy is small to medium-sized businesses. So there is a critical need to catalyze and support those Black businesses in order to create the wealth, not just for the Black community, but for the larger region. Because unless Cincinnati is growing our tax base, growing our skyline, growing our population, we won't have the resources necessary to do the great big things that we have to do.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there were some incredible ideas thrown on the table from that. Kroger is doing a lot of work revolved around equity and inclusion, internally and externally. Talk about that a little bit, Rodney.
Well, if you look, I'm super proud of all the things that we've done. You know, we've been a member of the $1 Billion Roundtable since it was created. But one of the things that we decided as a group last year is we still could do a lot more. And you know, I always say respect the past, create the future. And Monica Garnes, who's president of our fries division, agreed to head up a team for us to really say what is more. And one of those commitments that we've made is going from over $4 billion of purchasing from you know, minority-owned businesses, you know, Black, Asian, women-owned businesses to $10 billion. And you know, for us, it's one of the ways how we can create leverage. Because you know, one of the things that I think is always important to create broad wealth is how do you do businesses that can be scaled. Now it's fine on an entrepreneur that's got one niche, and you know, people always say if you're in the restaurant business, your hardest restaurant is your second one. The first one actually is pretty easy because it's got your passion right there every day. And for us, we're able to use that scale just to create something that's totally different.
Yeah.
And it's for us, it's one of the things that's so cool about working for a company with 500,000 associates and do 130 billion of business every year and things like that.
Yep.
Is everything you find you're able to do at scale when it works.
Yep. Well, the other thing cool about working for Kroger is the CEO wears incredible sneakers.
Yeah, well, Rico, you helped me out here.
And you got some sneaker guys here, and you are competing, my friend, dramatically. So,
and I have a lot of Vans shoes.
Yeah.
Some of which I've designed.
I got a hint to buy you Vans.
Yeah.
By the way. Yeah. You were definitely getting Nikes at first.
Yeah, that would.
It wouldn't have
Vans are much better. Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Tiff, I want to ask you this question. And this has been a talk that I've been having with several founders and entrepreneurs around the city and elsewhere. There's sort of a shift and not really promoting that we are a Black-owned business. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is a mistake? Or how do you feel about that? Putting yourself in the front of that brand and saying, hey, we are a Black-owned business. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think I get it. I think sometimes as the Black community, we don't give ourselves enough credit and we kind of retract. Because even I do it myself, I'll be writing something and, I might say minority or I might, and Drew's like, no, you're Black, put Black, and woman, and I'm just kind of like, okay, So, I mean, I get it. I just think it's, I don't know why. I think some of it too is maybe what people may think as far as okay, if I say Black or, that putting it out there too much, which I mean, we should be proud of it and, take heed to it. But I think still naturally you think about it as far as okay, well, is this gonna, reflect or how is that, how are people gonna view my business?
Right, do I get the same level of respect
if
I just say I'm minority? And I tell her all the time.
Or just a business.
Yeah. Right, or just a business. And I tell her, no, you're Black. And be proud of that.
Yep.
And, I feel like we've grown and we had a lot of support, not from our family, but also community, our friends that have helped us, watched us grow, to where we are now. So we credit all that success to our community, our family and background. So, yeah.
And you guys have a community-based product, right? You talked about this a little. If customers don't want it, the company doesn't do well, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I met your mom.
Uh-oh.
You know that, right? I went up to see the Chappelle show.
Oh, yeah.
And she has a shop.
Spot. Yep.
She has a shop, and we went in and bought a bunch of stuff. And it's a really awesome place. And I didn't know it was your mother and we end up telling you about going up and having that experience. You're like, that's my mom's place. How long has she been an entrepreneur?
Oh, she's been an entrepreneur her entire life. I mean, she's just always been hustling. My dad had more of, I would say, a steady job throughout my childhood, but my mom's always been opening small businesses or trying to try new things, and that entrepreneurial spirit I see in myself, particularly because look, politics when you're running for office, your campaign is very much a small business, a startup, that entrepreneurial spirit. I really see that through line in my career as well.
I love that. I love that. It shows.
Yeah, if you go back, tell her you're a friend of mine and she will not give you a discount. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
She's very shrewd.
That's hilarious.
Rico, I thought you were going to ask Aftab for the discount that you didn't get.
I certainly was.
That's next.
I certainly was. Absolutely. Where can people find Sweet Maize at?
So we're in ETC Produce and Findlay Market, as well as online, sweetmaizecookies.com, as well as we're in Myers Rivertown Market in Detroit, Michigan.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Where can people find the sweater at?
I was just
Well, I'm not going to even mention it. I can't put the source out there.
Most fashionable couple that I know.
Tell them DM me.
Absolutely.
And Drew Biggs.
DM me.
no free ads.
Right. Yeah, that's smart.
Yep.
This has been incredible. Just a great conversation with you guys. I talked to all of you individually quite a bit. Rodney and I have been on more stages in the last 2 years than we didn't even know each other.
Right. And big brothers, big sisters.
Yeah.
I mean, you did an incredible job hosting it, but to me, that is our future.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. What Kathy and that group does with such a lean team is absolutely phenomenal. So shout out to Big Brother Big Sisters and all the work that, and I got invited back, and Barbara Turner told me I had to wear a better suit than last year, so I got to figure something out because I brought out my best for last year. So I'll consult with Drew. I will not have that sweater on, however.
Drew would be a good person to consult with. Aftab wouldn't be too bad.
Absolutely, Aftab, right. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. We are certainly getting a fashionable mayor, so excited about that. Thank you for joining us. This has been absolutely phenomenal. And
thanks for having us.
With that,
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Rico.
Thanks.